We're interrupting our scheduled broadcast to get you news coming in this afternoon of a Nepal plane that's gone missing with 22 people on board. These are 22 members, including 19 passengers and 3 crew members, 4 Indians also on board right now. This flight is from Pokhara to Jomsom, so it's a very short, about 20-25 minute flight. At the last, in fact, contact that was established by the ATC was at 10:35 this morning. So over 1.5 hours now, there's been no information, no connection whatsoever with the aircraft. Search and rescue operations are currently underway. This is a twin-engine aircraft, small one, short journey with 22 people on board. From Pokhara to Jomsom, there's been no connection established. Helicopters have been deployed now in the search operation. Paulami Saha is joining us with more details on this. Paulami, it's not looking good right now. 1.5 hours and counting. There's been no contact established with this aircraft.
There is no news yet on the state of the aircraft at the moment. And why did it lose contact of what the Nepalese authorities are saying is that they have deployed at least 2 private choppers that have flown out from Mustang and from Pokhara to look for this Tara Airlines flight, Tara Air flight, and also a Nepalese Army Mi-17 helicopter has taken off as well to locate this aircraft in the region that it seems to have lost contact in. Remember that this was a flight, a Tara Air flight, which in fact took off from Pokhara at about 9:53 a.m. local time. And just within a few minutes from then, when it was headed for Jomsom Airport, which is about 25 minutes flight time, it lost contact. And Nepalese authorities say that it diverted or veered off into the Mount Dholagiri area, which is where it seems to have lost contact. So the search operations are on at the moment. Like I said, 2 private choppers and 1 Nepalese Army Mi-17 helicopter has been deployed to look for this aircraft, which was carrying 19 passengers and 3 crew members on board. Among those 19 passengers, we believe that there are 4 Indians and 3 Japanese nationals other than Nepalese citizens who are on board.
Okay, we're just awaiting an official word as well. We've spoken to the spokesperson of the Nepal police on the search operations. Paulami, stay on with me. Let me play out that reaction first.
विष्णु जी नमस्कार, मैं अरविंद ओझा बोल रहा हूँ आज तक से, दिल्ली से।
नमस्कार।
ये जो फ्लाइट नेपाल से गायब हुई है, इसके बारे में जानकारी दीजिए। कहाँ से गायब हुई है, कैसे, क्या जानकारी है नेपाल पुलिस को?
हाँ, वो तारा एयरलाइंस के प्लेन पोखरा से वो मुस्तांग जा रहा था, वो गायब हुआ है। उसका अभी 2 घंटा हुआ है, उसका जो खोज तलाश जारी है। नेपाली सेना तो प्राइवेट एयरलाइंस के हेलीकॉप्टर उसके खोजने के लिए परिचालित हुआ है, उसने खोजी कर रहा है। वो नदी के पुलिस यूनिट, मुस्तांग के पुलिस यूनिट, नेपाल प्रहरी के प्रहरी जवान परिचालित हुए, उसने खोज रहा है। एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन अभी पता नहीं है, वो तो खोजी कार्य जारी है।
अभी उस जो फ्लाइट जो लापता हुई है, उसकी लोकेशन अभी तक नहीं मिल पाई है?
हाँ नहीं, वो मुस्तांग डिस्ट्रिक्ट के वो समवेयर वो शंकास्पद है, तो एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन पता नहीं है। वहाँ नेपाल प्रहरी का लोग ने वो खोज तलाश कर रहा है।
अच्छा, तो क्या इसमें नेपाल की जो सेना है वो भी अपने हेलीकॉप्टर के जरिए तलाश कर रही है?
हाँ, नेपाली सेना के हेलीकॉप्टर, वो प्राइवेट एयरलाइंस के हेलीकॉप्टर नेपाल सरकार ने खोज तलाश के लिए भेजे है, वो खोज तलाश कर रहा है।
अच्छा, कितने लोग थे फ्लाइट में, कोई ऐसी जानकारी अभी डिटेल?
हाँ, फ्लाइट में 19 लोग हैं, तो वो फ्लाइट दल के 3 सदस्य थे, 22 लोग था।
अच्छा, ठीक है।
So that's a conversation that we just played out for you with a representative of the Nepal police confirming that for over 2 hours now, They've not been able to establish any contact or identify the whereabouts of this particular aircraft. He's also confirmed that the Nepal army, along with, in fact, the help of several private airlines, they're all involved right now in the search operations. No update with regards to where this plane is, where this aircraft is right now. The Nepal government at this point is very closely tracking what's happening also. So we're going to be keeping on getting you details, updated reports from the local media who we're constantly in touch with. 19 passengers who are on board, a total of 22 with 3 crew members as well. 4 Indian nationals also on board that particular plane. Paulami Saha, who tracks the aviation beat for us, is also with us on this broadcast. Paulami, you know, in these kind of cases, I'm sure you've tracked many such rescue operations, such search operations. Time is of the essence, and with 2 hours and counting, it's definitely not looking good. Do we have any information about the 4 Indian nationals who are on board this particular plane?
No, we're to gather information at the moment. The Nepalese authorities have not released the passenger manifest, but they have in fact suggested that there are at least 4 Indian nationals and 3 Japanese nationals who seem to have been on board this flight, which was from Pokhara to Jomsom in Mustang, and they are, of course, at the moment, the priority is, of course, to establish contact with the aircraft and find the aircraft, which lost contact just a few minutes after, of course, the flight took off. Now, this Tara Air, of course, is a subsidiary of Yeti Airlines in Nepal. It is headquartered in Kathmandu, and the aircraft type we do know is DHC 6300. It's a twin-engine aircraft, which in fact find these 19 passengers and 3 crew members on board. And you know, obviously we are waiting for news on what happened exactly and why is it that this aircraft did in fact lose contact with the authorities on the ground that are monitoring the flight. But Tara Air, unfortunately, does have an abysmal track record, and there have been incidents and accidents in the past, and it's going to be extremely difficult to, of course, for the airline to explain this. But at the moment, of course, all efforts are in fact engaged towards trying to locate the aircraft. Like we've been telling our viewers, at least 2 private choppers and 1 Nepalese Army Mi-17 helicopter are currently engaged in trying to find this aircraft, which the authorities on the ground tell us after takeoff, when it was approaching Mustang, was somehow diverted towards Mount Dolagiri, and that is not part of the the flight path, and hence it is something that was absolutely unexpected, and that is, of course, will of course be a matter of investigation. But the priority, of course, right now remains the location of the aircraft.
That's right. At this point, no leads that officials have been able to pick up. Paulami, you know, this was a very, very short flight. All right, let me just take this across to, in fact, Vishnu, who's joining us on this broadcast. He represents the Nepal police. Sir, thank you for joining us here on India Today. We're tracking what's happening in Nepal very closely. Any update with regards to whether you've been able to track down this plane?
Yeah.
Sir, go ahead. Any information that you can give us?
Yeah, the flight of the Pokhara to Jomsom, the Thai Airlines, early in the morning, about 9 o'clock, but it's 10 o'clock. From 10 o'clock, the Thai Airlines has been missing. The Nepal police and the Nepal army is searching the area which is suspected for any incident happened in the Mustang region, but now it's not finding any more information about the missing plane.
Sir, so you're telling us that at least for 2 hours now there's been no contact with the plane, correct?
Yeah.
And what is being done with regards to the search operations in that distance?
Yeah, Bob, the Nepal Army, the helicopter of the Nepal Army and the private airlines now searching the mountainous area of the Mustang district. But still, there is not development about any missing airlines. The climate of that location is very, very worse now. So the sourcing area also is very difficult to find what is the accident happened.
Mr. Vishnu, thank you very much for joining us. We hope that you could join us in about an hour from now with some positive news and some development with regards to the search operations as well. Mr. Prem Bahadur, Nepal Aviation Minister, is also joining us on this broadcast. Mr. Prem Bahadur, what information we have currently is that 10 a.m. is when the plane was in contact with the ATC. Since then, there's been no communication, no update.
आज प्लेन 9:55 में पोखरा से टेकअप हुआ था.
Okay.
10:07 में उसका कांटेक्ट ही नहीं हुआ. 10:07 में. अभी हम लोग यहाँ काठमांडू रेस्क्यू एंड सर्च सेंटर में बैठे हुए हैं. इसका पता लगा रहे हैं. इसके लिए आर्मी का हेलीकॉप्टर भी गया है. पिस्टल एयर का हेलीकॉप्टर भी भेजा गया है सर्च करने के लिए.
सर, क्या आप कंफर्म कर सकते हैं हमारे लिए कितने लोग थे फ्लाइट में?
इसमें 19 लोग यात्री थे और 2 पायलट, चालक दल के 2 पायलट थे और एक एयर होस्टेस. 22 लोग थे.
और ये प्लेन कहाँ से कहाँ तक जा रहा था? क्योंकि जो हमारे इंफॉर्मेशन है वो बस एक 20 मिनट का फ्लाइट ड्यूरेशन है.
हाँ, ये तो 17 मिनट का फ्लाइट है मैम. 17 मिनट का फ्लाइट है. इसमें पोखरा से जोमसम जा रहा था. उसके आगे वाली 2 फ्लाइट थे वो गए भी और लौट के भी आ गए. ये फ्लाइट तीसरी वाली फ्लाइट है तारा एयर का. 9:55 में यहाँ से उड़ा पोखरा से जोमसम की तरफ और 10:07 में वो गायब हुआ. इसलिए अभी हमारी सेना के आर्मी के हेलीकॉप्टर और ये प्राइवेट पिस्टल एयर हेलीकॉप्टर सब लोग ढूंढ रहे हैं उसको.
और उसके बारे में और जानकारी प्लीज दे दीजिए हमारे लिए सर, क्योंकि जो जैसे आप बोल रहे हो 2 घंटे से ज्यादा अभी कुछ कम्युनिकेशन नहीं मिला है. क्या सर्च ऑपरेशंस अभी जारी है?
वही तो पुलिस लोग, आर्मी लोग सब उसको ढूंढ रहे हैं. हमारे लोग भी लगे हुए हैं. वहाँ तो बड़ा बड़ा माउंटेन है ना.
Finally, sir, finally, I know you're very busy right now. लेकिन वो जो टेरेन है उसके बारे में भी हमको बताइए, क्योंकि ये जो शायद ये ड्यूरेशन और ये जो फ्लाइट पाथ है वहाँ पे बहुत माउंटेन्स है, जैसे आप बोल रहे थे, बहुत टर्बुलेंट राइड है और एक्सीडेंट प्रोन है.
सुनिए ना, वहाँ बड़ा बड़ा फ्लाइट है. वो हिमालय है ना, माउंटेन कुछ है, धौलागिरी है, नीलगिरी है. इसी के बस्ती के बगल में तो नहीं है ये. और इसलिए हिमालय के ऊपर होने की वजह से सेना का हेलीकॉप्टर और प्राइवेट पिस्टल हेलीकॉप्टर सब लोग ढूंढ रहे हैं इसको.
तो क्या उसके वजह से, क्योंकि ये मतलब हिमालयस के बीच में हुआ है, क्या उसके वजह से सर्च ऑपरेशन में भी थोड़ा दिक्कत और मुश्किल होगा?
सर्च करने में थोड़ा दिक्कत तो होगा ही, क्योंकि गाँव बस्ती में तो नहीं है. अगर गांव बस्ती में हुआ होता तो पुलिस लोग अभी तक आपको वो मैसेज पहुंचा दिया होता. इसलिए हिमालय के ऊपर है, इसलिए थोड़ा दिक्कत हो रहा है. इसके लिए हम जल्दी से इसको ढूंढ के आपको फिर इंफॉर्मेशन करेंगे. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for joining us here on India Today. So here on India Today, we're getting you all the voices from Nepal. We've spoken to a representative of the Nepal police. I just wrapped up that conversation there with the Nepal aviation minister, who's confirmed that they're doing all that they can to find this particular aircraft. As he mentioned, you know, this is an area where the terrain is rather challenging for the pilots to also veer through. And unfortunately, we've reported in the past also of several such incidents in this particular area of Pokhara and Jomsom where such aviation accidents have happened. We're not going to, you know, jump to any conclusions here, but 2 hours and counting, there's been no communication whatsoever with the plane. Search operations are on as we speak. I'd like to also get in an aviation perspective on this. Mr. Ajay Prakash, aviation expert, is joining us on this broadcast. Mr. Prakash, unfortunate news coming in from Nepal right now. You'll be able to throw more light for us really on the kind of challenges that in this kind of a terrain a pilot really faces. You know, between Pokhara and Jomsom, very short flight, about 25 minutes we're told, but extremely challenging terrain.
Yes, it is very challenging terrain. But you know, the Nepal and the Nepalese pilots and Indian pilots as well have been looking and, operating in these regions. It's still very sad, and our hearts go out and our prayers for the people on board and for their families. But, it is when things like this happen that we are forced to rethink how much we take civil aviation for granted. Yes, it is indeed one of the safest modes of transport, but when something happens, that's when it hits home that safety measures, training, all the procedures, the systems to be followed, how rigorously they need to be followed in order to ensure passenger safety. All we can say and hope is that there are survivors and that the wreckage will be found very soon. But I think we will have to wait for the Nepalese authorities, who are doing a commendable job as far as I can see, to as far as search and rescue and location is concerned. So our best wishes to them and our prayers for the safety of the people on board as well as for their families.
Yeah, Mr. Ajay Prakash, thank you for joining us here on India Today with that perspective. And very clearly at this point, this is an area that's extremely challenging for any pilot to steer through, because as the Nepal Aviation Minister also told us, this is right in between the Himalayas. And that's also a challenge that's happening right now with regards to the search operations. Why it's taking time, despite it being just about a 20-25 minute plane ride. Poulomi Saha is also still with us, getting us all the updates. Poulomi, we've been getting in a number of reactions. We've been speaking to authorities in Nepal who all confirm that all efforts are being taken on the ground to identify exactly where this plane is. If it was a crash, God forbid, that there are survivors, that everyone's managed to make it out. So those are the questions that the Nepal authorities are trying to get answers for. But you were telling us that this particular area between Pokhara and Jomsom has unfortunately seen many such flight tragedies.
Well, yes. Unfortunately, and it's specifically in relation to Tara Air. As far as Tara Air goes, it has had several incidents and accidents as well in the past, at least 7 or 8 that come to mind. But this incident, unfortunately, that we're currently talking about is an eerie reminder to a similar incident that happened in the exact same route on the 15th of December. 2010, it was again a DHC-6 Twin Otter, which is the exact aircraft type, which in fact took off from Pokhara this morning in Nepal. That was another flight which was en route from Lamidanda Airport in Nepal to Kathmandu. Exact same number of passengers, 19, and 3 flight crew were unfortunately killed after their aircraft shortly crashed shortly after takeoff. And that is the incident. Tara Air has had incidents where cabin doors have opened after, takeoff, where it has skidded off the runway upon landing as well. It has had incidents of tire bursts upon landing as well. So this is unfortunate that we're trying to the details of what happened with this particular aircraft 9NAET, but we're trying to, of course, get more details on it. But unfortunately, Tara Air's record has been something which
Yes, and we're going to be tracking the latest updates on the search operations. Fingers crossed for some good news. Poulomi, thanks for the moment for joining us with those details. We're going to be tracking the story very closely. Trust us here on India Today to get every official reaction and every update that comes in on that news break. It's time for me to wrap up this broadcast. Coming up on the other side is World Today with Geeta Mohan.